So for this level 5 jam, let's take a look at what I did. We had E flat Dorian. We had B Lydian. And then we had A Mixolydian. Now, the problem with playing over something like this is you've got 3 tonal centers. It is a raging example of modal interchange, if you will. And so how do you play 3 different scales, 3 tonal centers, without it sounding like you're playing 3 different scales and 3 tonal centers? And to be honest, it's a lifetime of work to find the answer to that. We're all on this journey. But here's what I tried to do, okay? I was looking at the 3 modes, and I was looking for common tones, meaning what are the notes that I could play that stay through several of those chords? And I'm looking at the voicing for the E flat minor 9, okay? And I'm seeing these 2 notes, which is the root of the E flat, and also the F, which is the 9, right? And the 9, as we said, is a very featured note in our Dorian sound. So that sounds pretty Dorian-esque to me, right? So I started with this little phrase, something like... And then the 3rd note I picked there was the B flat, okay, which in our E flat Dorian is the 5th, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all right? So I'm playing 3 notes from E flat Dorian, the 9th, the root, and the 5th, okay? Now, as the chord changed to B major 9 sharp 11, I'm looking also at the chord voicing, and I'm thinking about the notes that are in B Lydian. And I know that those 2 notes that I started with are both in B Lydian. And what's more important, the F note here is our featured Lydian note. So that's a great note to include anyway. But now I can keep this motif going that I started with the 1st chord. So for the 1st chord, E flat 9. For the 2nd chord, B Lydian, B major 9 sharp 11. Those 2 notes still going to work, right? But I needed to change the B flat because I wanted to really hone in on the root of the chord as well, to really make the Lydian sound come out. So I moved the B flat to a B, and that gave me the root of the Lydian scale and its characteristic note, the sharp 4, okay? Now, so then as the chord changed to A13, I had to keep that going. But unfortunately, my first 2 notes were not going to work over the... Well, I mean, you could use them as tension notes, but as part of my main melody, I'm going to have to shift them. So visually, you can see the shift from here to here, right? So I take these 2 notes, shift them up, and that gives me the 13 and the 5th of A Mixolydian, right? And then what's another characteristic of the Mixolydian mode? It has a major 3rd. So I wanted to get that in there. So I put that C sharp in there as well, okay? So I'm using 2 notes of the first 2 modes that are common to each other, and then shifting the 3rd note, and then I'm using the same idea, the same melodic motif, shifting it up a half step to put it into A Mixolydian, okay? And why am I putting myself through all this, I hear you ask? Well, because I was trying to avoid doing this, sounding like, and then next chord, next chord, because that just sounds too much like an exercise. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't practice it like that, because you should. And here's my main bit of advice for that. Practice the 3 modes in the same position on the neck, right? And then see if you can play them on different string sets. See if you can see what the E flat Dorian looks like on just the D and G strings going into the B Lydian, going into the A Mixolydian. Then take that whole idea, move it to another spot on the neck. Let's say we go up here, okay? Where's our E flat Dorian up here, okay? So here it is. Where's our B Lydian in that position? Where's our A Mixolydian? And incidentally, in each of these positions, I'm looking for the chord voicings as well. So I can see, there's an A7. How does my Mixolydian fit over the chord voicing. So there's a real process to this. You want to make sure you know the chord voicings first in one area of the neck, keeping them closely connected. Then you want to make sure inside each of those chord voicings, you can see the corresponding mode. The Dorian over the minor 7, the Lydian over the major 9 sharp 11, and the Mixolydian over the dominant 7 or 13. And then once you've done that, move around them and see if you can find common tones. One thing you can do is write down the notes of the 3 modes and literally look at them and go, oh, I see an E flat and an F. I can use both those notes over this chord, for example. That's what I picked out there. And that's going to help you find melodies through the chord, because when you're playing over any kind of jazz fusion or jazz changes generally, you want it to sound like a cohesive idea is moving in one direction, and you're not having to stop and replay a scale. That's kind of the goal of the improv, of the modal improv. Now, another thing I thought about was over the E flat minor 9, I started playing B flat minor pentatonic. And the reason being that the B flat minor pentatonic just has chord tones and extensions that I could use over that E flat 9 chord, okay? And then because I know that I can use the minor pentatonic scale a half step below a major chord, for my B major 9 sharp 11, I was able to bring out the Lydian mode by staying with that B flat minor pentatonic, which is a really nice little device, which actually I first explored in my first course for TrueFire, the guitarist pentathlon. Nice plug there, Mr. Garland. So anyway, we have a B flat minor pentatonic working over both of those chords, and then over the A Mixolydian, I think I just switched to A major pentatonic. And the reason I did that is because I always think of Mixolydian and major pentatonic as being really good friends with each other. If you want it to be a little bit bluesy, reach for the pentatonic, but as soon as you put those 2 notes back in, the 4th and the flat 7, it sounds like Mixolydian to my ears, okay? So I really encourage you to take the concept behind this level particularly and work on it on your own. Take 3 chords with 3 different tonal centers, apply the modes to them, and make music with them. Try to improvise. Be patient with this because it's going to take you a while because you are dealing with 3 different keys, okay? But if you take your time with it, look for common tones, think about rhythm as well. Like instead of just playing that same motif, that simple little thing I was doing, later on in the solo I started going, or something like that. You can play the same thing, but just give it a slightly different rhythmic feel, and that will carry you and bring your listeners in. So take all these concepts with you, practice some modal interchange, and enjoy the journey.